They say love is written in the stars, but what if the stars were only mirrors, reflecting what already lives inside you? What if fate isn't about meeting the right person, but becoming ready for them? There are moments in life when you meet someone and time itself seems to pause, not because they're extraordinary in the way the world defines beauty or charm, but because something ancient within you suddenly recognizes something ancient within them. It's not fireworks or trembling hearts, it's silence. A deep, wordless familiarity, as if your soul exhales for the first time and whispers, "Ah, there you are." You can't explain why it feels that way, and yet there's an ease that defies logic. It's not attraction, though it may hold that too. It's remembrance. Something in you feels seen, not for what you've become through the noise of the world, but for what you've always been before the world told you who to be. That kind of meeting doesn't happen often. It comes when life has softened your edges, when the noise has finally quieted enough for your inner self to hear another soul calling in harmony. You realize, perhaps for the first time, that recognition isn't about physical presence. It's an energetic echo, a resonance that vibrates beyond words or touch. You could be sitting beside them in silence, and still, everything in you feels spoken to. No questions, no explanations. Just a subtle knowing that your paths have crossed not by chance, but by design. In that stillness between words, something beautiful happens. You stop performing. You stop thinking about what to say next, how to look, how to sound, how to impress. You just darei. And in that pure being, you notice how rare it is to feel safe in someone's quiet. Most people mistake silence for distance, but in the presence of the one meant for you, silence feels like home. It becomes a sacred space where words are unnecessary. The energy between you does the speaking, soft, patient, alive. You start to realize that the truest connections aren't loud. They don't demand attention. They don't shout their presence. They breathe in the spaces between sentences. That stillness becomes your mirror. In their calm gaze, you see yourself more clearly than ever before. Not because they define you, but because they allow you to return to yourself. You notice how the world has conditioned you to rush, to fill every pause, to over-explain, to decorate your truth with unnecessary noise. But here, in the sanctuary of this connection, you rediscover the beauty of simplicity. You don't need to reach for meaning. It's already there, resting in the silence you both share. As you sink deeper into that silence, a gentle truth rises within you. The awareness that you no longer have to perform. You've spent years wearing masks built from expectations, fears, and the need to be accepted. But in the presence of the one who resonates with your soul, those masks begin to fall. You no longer need to be perfect. You no longer need to carry your stories like trophies or wounds. You simply show up, raw, unpolished, real. And instead of being met with judgment, you're met with understanding. It's an unfamiliar freedom at first. You've been trained to believe that love must be earned, that your value depends on what you can offer, how much you can give, how well you can perform. But this connection dismantles all of that. It invites you into authenticity, into the realization that true love isn't impressed by your perfection, it's drawn to your honesty. You don't need to do anything spectacular. Your existence in its quiet truth is enough. And that's when the deepest transformation begins. You realize that the person meant for you doesn't arrive to complete you. They arrive to reveal the parts of you that were always whole but forgotten. Their presence becomes a gentle permission slip to exist without armor, to breathe without pretense, to speak without rehearsing. You find yourself laughing from the belly again, crying without apology, sharing without fear of being misunderstood. That's what love, in its purest form, does. It unravels you gently, until you remember what it feels like to be free. This freedom is not loud or chaotic. It's calm and grounded. is not about losing yourself in another, but finding yourself reflected through another. And when you finally taste that stillness, that effortless connection that doesn't demand, doesn't chase, doesn't prove, you begin to see why so many people confuse excitement for destiny. The truth is, what's meant for you rarely shouts. It whispers. It comes softly, like a sunrise that doesn't rush to impress, yet lights up everything it touches. In their presence, you begin to understand that love is not something to win or possess. It's something to recognize. The one meant for you will not try to mold you into their image. They will simply mirror the parts of you that have been waiting to be seen. And that reflection will not feel like infatuation. It will feel like peace. So if you ever meet someone and the world suddenly feels quieter, if you find yourself not needing to speak just to fill the air, if you realize that you're no longer pretending to be anyone other than who you are, pay attention. That's not ordinary. That's something sacred. It's the universe reminding you that love isn't found in noise or performance, but in the quiet recognition of two souls that remember each other beyond time. And when you experience it, you'll know. Not because of fireworks or promises, but because of peace. Peace that feels ancient, familiar, and entirely new. Peace that tells you, without words, that you have finally arrived, not in someone else's heart, but in your own. When love is real, it doesn't ask you to abandon yourself. It doesn't demand that you shrink to fit someone else's comfort or betray your truth for the sake of belonging. It invites you instead to return to your center, to align your inner compass with what you know to be right and sacred within you. Love that is meant for you will never require you to trade your integrity for acceptance. It will honor the quiet voice inside that whispers, "Stay true." Because when you betray that voice, you may keep someone close, but you lose yourself in the process. And what is love if it costs you your own soul? There is a certain harmony that exists when two people's values move in rhythm with each other. It doesn't mean you agree on everything. It means you respect the truth that flows through both paths. You recognize that love is not control, it's alignment. It's the meeting of two hearts that choose the same direction even if their steps differ. When you're with the right person, you don't have to keep defending your light. You don't have to explain why your boundaries matter or why your dreams call you forward. They understand that your growth does not threaten them. They see your independence as something sacred, not something to be feared. And it's in that freedom that real love becomes fertile ground for growth. When two souls come together in truth, they don't hold each other back. They awaken each other. Love stops being a cage and becomes a catalyst. You find yourself expanding, not because someone completes you, but because their presence stirs something deeper inside you. They don't rescue you from your pain. They help you see it more clearly. They don't fill your emptiness. They help you discover that you are never empty at all. Growth in love can be both gentle and fierce. Sometimes it feels like light breaking through a window, filling every dark corner with warmth. Other times, it feels like a storm that strips away everything false. The one who is truly meant for you will not only comfort you, they will challenge you. They will hold up a mirror, and in it, you will see both your beauty and your shadows. It can be unsettling to face those parts of yourself, the ones you've carefully hidden behind smiles or silence. But their purpose is not to expose you, it is to help you heal. Many people think love is supposed to make you feel safe all the time. But safety without growth becomes stagnation. The love that is meant for your soul doesn't just protect you from pain, it transforms it. It teaches you that vulnerability is not weakness, that opening your heart after heartbreak is not foolishness, but courage. You begin to realize that love is not about finding someone who makes life easier. It's about finding someone who makes life truer. And truth, while sometimes uncomfortable, is the most profound form of safety you will ever know. There are moments when this kind of love will ask you to face yourself, deeply, honestly, completely. It will pull at the threads of your old stories and unravel the parts of you built on fear. You'll resist it at first because growth can feel like loss. But as the layers peel away, you'll see that nothing real can ever be taken from you. Only illusions fall apart. What remains is you, raw, aware, and open to love in its purest form. When you stand in that space, you start to understand that love isn't here to decorate your life. It's here to deepen it. It doesn't arrive to give you more possessions, more pleasure, or more certainty. It arrives to give you presence, to awaken you to yourself. The one meant for you won't rescue you from your path. They'll walk beside you on it. They'll remind you that your wounds don't disqualify you from love. They prepare you for it. Because when someone truly sees you, not just your light but also your pain, something sacred happens. You begin to heal not by being fixed, but by being witnessed. And in that witnessing, you discover that love is not something to get it's something to become it. It's a state of awareness, a way of being awake with another soul. Every interaction becomes an opportunity, not to control or possess, but to learn and expand. This is why the one meant for you will not always feel like comfort. Sometimes they will arrive as a mirror, reflecting all that you've avoided. Sometimes they will shake your spirit awake when you've grown too numb to feel. And though it may hurt, deep down you will know, this is not punishment, this is purification. You are being called to rise higher, to love more honestly, to see yourself without distortion. When that realization settles in your heart, you stop fearing the depth of love. You stop running from the mirrors it places before you. You begin to understand that love, at its core, is a spiritual practice, one that dismantles the ego and reveals the soul. You see that growth and love are not separate. They are threads of the same divine tapestry, weaving you closer to truth. And so, when you meet the one meant for you, recognize them not just by the comfort they bring, but by the awakening they stir. Notice how your heart softens and your awareness sharpens. Notice how your old defenses begin to crumble, not because you are losing yourself, but because you are remembering yourself. This love will not ask you to become someone new. It will remind you of who you already are. It will challenge you to grow, but never away from your truth, only deeper into it. And through that deepening, you will come to see that love was never just about two people finding each other. It was about two souls remembering that they were never truly apart. Even the strongest love will face storms. It is not the absence of conflict that reveals its depth, but the calm that remains beneath it. There are moments when words fail, when emotions rise like waves against the shore of understanding. And yet, something deeper holds steady, a quiet knowing that no disagreement can shatter what was built in truth. This is the kind of love that doesn't flee at the first sign of thunder. It doesn't retreat into silence out of fear, nor explode into anger to prove its strength. It breathes, it waits, it trusts the calm beneath the chaos. When you stand in such a bond, you begin to realize that peace isn't found in perfection, but in presence. You may not agree on everything. How could you, when each of you is a universe unto yourself? But even in moments of dissonance, your hearts continue to hum the same melody. You start to understand that love is not a constant high. It is a rhythm, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes still. What matters is not how often you dance in harmony, but that you never stop dancing altogether. This calm beneath the chaos is the invisible thread that holds souls together when everything else seems uncertain. It's the space where forgiveness breathes, where compassion speaks louder than ego. You learn that in true love, peace isn't the absence of pain. It's the choice to return to stillness, no matter how loud the storm becomes. And in that choice, the relationship transforms from something fragile into something sacred. Then you begin to notice the mystery of timing, how love always seems to arrive exactly when it's supposed to. Not when you demand it, not when you chase it, but when your soul is ready to receive it. We spend so much of our lives trying to force connections, trying to make people stay who were only meant to pass through. But life, in its infinite wisdom, knows when to bring the right souls together. What once felt like delay was simply divine preparation. You start to see that nothing is accidental. The heartbreaks, the silences, the detours, they were all aligning you, refining you, softening the parts of you that were too guarded to love deeply. There's a rhythm to it all, an unseen order behind what seems like chaos. Fate doesn't move on your schedule, but it always moves in your favor. The person meant for you will not arrive when your ego is ready, but when your soul is mature enough to recognize them. That recognition is quiet, but it's unmistakable. You may not even understand it at first. Perhaps you cross paths unexpectedly at a time when you had stopped searching. Perhaps you feel an unexplainable pull, as though something beyond logic is drawing you closer. This is what happens when the soul remembers what the mind cannot. Some people you meet for a season, others you meet because destiny decided it was time for two journeys to converge. And that convergence feels like remembering. There's a whisper in your chest, a familiarity you can't explain. It's as though you've known them before. Not in this lifetime perhaps, but in the quiet spaces between lifetimes. You feel guided toward them as if invisible hands have been arranging moments and choices to lead you right here. It's strange, isn't it? How some connections carry an energy that feels ancient. You could be strangers by name, yet something in their presence awakens what has always been sleeping inside you. You sense that this meeting is not the beginning of something new, but the continuation of something timeless. That's the essence of fateful love. It doesn't just happen, it remembers itself into being. As you open yourself to that realization, you begin to understand that love is not a pursuit, it's a recognition. The right person doesn't enter your life to complete your story, but to remind you of it. Every encounter before them becomes clear. Each heartbreak, each goodbye, each lonely night was guiding you to a place of readiness. You had to learn what love isn't before you could recognize what love is. So when you finally meet someone and something deep inside you softens, not out of weakness, but out of remembrance, trust that feeling. Don't rush to define it. Don't try to make it fit your expectations. Just let it unfold. Because love that is written by the universe does not need to be controlled. It only needs to be received. There's an invisible thread that connects souls who are meant to meet. It stretches across years, lifetimes, and choices, yet it never breaks. Sometimes it pulls you apart so you can grow separately. Sometimes it draws you close so you can grow together. But no matter where life takes you, that thread remains. It's what brings two people back to each other, even after time and distance have tested every part of their being. When you begin to see love through this lens, you stop fearing loss. You stop clinging out of desperation. You begin to understand that what is meant for you cannot be taken, and what leaves was never yours to hold. This is not cold detachment. It's divine trust. It's the peace that comes from knowing that the timing of the heart is not in your control, but it is always perfect. And so, when that calm presence finds you again, after all the storms, after all the waiting, you'll recognize it not by intensity, but by peace. Not by excitement, but by a deep, steady knowing. You'll look into their eyes and remember that love is not something you fall into, but something you return to, again and again, lifetime after lifetime, moment after moment. For love, when it is real, does not come to disrupt your destiny. It comes to reveal it. There comes a moment when love no longer feels like a chase. It stops being something you run toward or cling to, and instead it begins to flow, softly, effortlessly, like a river that has finally found its course. You realize that the love meant for you doesn't drain you. It doesn't leave you second-guessing your worth or constantly reaching for validation. It doesn't demand that you lose yourself to prove that you're worthy of being held. It moves with a quiet rhythm, natural, grounded, alive. You give not to earn affection, but because giving becomes a reflection of your fullness. You receive not with fear of losing, but with gratitude for what already is. This ease feels unfamiliar at first. We are taught that love should feel like struggle, that it should be dramatic, fiery, complicated, and consuming. But the truth is, love that is real brings you home to yourself. It doesn't ask you to sprint, it teaches you to breathe. It doesn't exhaust your spirit, it nourishes it. There is a certain peace that flows through relationships built on mutual understanding rather than emotional chaos. And when you encounter that peace, something in you softens. You stop performing. You stop fighting for control. You stop confusing intensity with intimacy. You begin to see that ease is not boredom, it is balance. It is the reflection of two souls who have stopped trying to conquer one another and have chosen instead to move in harmony. In that ease, fear begins to disappear. You stop walking on eggshells, waiting for love to vanish. You no longer feel the need to analyze every silence or question every glance. Because when love is aligned with truth, it doesn't leave room for insecurity. You no longer carry the ache of needing to prove your worthiness, because love, the kind that's meant for you, already recognizes it. There is a sacred quietness in knowing that you don't have to fight to keep what is rooted in authenticity. You stop fearing loss because you understand something deeper, that love is not possession, it is presence. This realization changes everything. You begin to love with open hands instead of closed fists. You realize that you can care deeply without needing to control. You understand that someone's freedom does not threaten your connection, it strengthens it. The more you release your fear of losing, the more you discover the beauty of simply being with her. You learn that love cannot grow in the soil of fear, it thrives in the atmosphere of trust. So, you let go of your grip on outcomes, and in that letting go, you find something far greater: peace. With peace comes a new kind of listening, one that happens beyond words. You begin to notice how love often speaks in silence. There's a communication that doesn't rely on sentences, but on energy. A glance that says more than a paragraph ever could. A touch that speaks the language of safety. You find yourself understanding someone's heart without needing constant explanation. This is what it means to be deeply attuned to another. To sense what they feel. To listen not with your ears, but with your soul. This silent understanding is one of the purest forms of connection. It's what remains when the noise of life fades. It's the unspoken knowing that allows two people to sit in stillness without the weight of awkwardness. In that space, love matures. It transcends the surface and anchors itself in the unseen. You start to realize that real love doesn't always need to be spoken. It's felt. It's in the way you breathe together, in the pauses between conversations, in the stillness that feels full instead of empty. This kind of connection cannot be forced. It comes when two souls have learned to listen inwardly, when each has spent time understanding themselves deeply enough to understand another. You begin to see how the quiet between you becomes sacred ground. It's not a void to be filled, but a presence to be shared. You no longer rush to explain or defend. You no longer fear being misunderstood, because the foundation of trust carries what words cannot. And maybe this is what love was always meant to be. Not a constant exchange of explanations, but a silent alignment of truths. You sense when something feels off without accusation, and you sense when something feels right without needing proof. There's no more guessing, no more anxiety trying to interpret mixed signals. The connection itself becomes a language. It teaches you that love doesn't have to shout to be heard. Its quietest moments often speak the loudest truths. It is in that space of wordless knowing that fear finally dissolves completely. You realize that what's real cannot be lost, and what's not real was never yours. You stop chasing permanence and begin embracing presence. You stop trying to predict the future and start fully inhabiting the now. And in that stillness, you see love for what it truly is. Not a performance, not a contract, not a possession, but a spiritual communion. A meeting place between two aware beings who have chosen to see and be seen. When love becomes this, effortless, fearless, and intuitively understood, it ceases to be a transaction and becomes transformation. You are no longer searching for someone to complete you. You are meeting someone who reflects your completeness back to you. You're no longer waiting to be chosen. You are both choosing again and again, in awareness, in peace, in truth. And as you rest in that realization, you begin to understand the quiet power of love that doesn't need to be chased, feared, or constantly explained. Love that's simply Isa, flowing with ease, unshaken by fear, and sustained by a sacred understanding that words could never fully capture. Because the deepest love stories are not written in sentences, they are written in silence. There comes a time in your journey when you realize that silence itself has a language. It speaks not through words, but through presence. Through the spaces between thoughts, through the rhythm of your own breathing, through the way your heart slows when you stop fighting the moment. You begin to see that you do not need to fill every gap with explanation. You do not need to justify your peace. You do not need to make others understand your stillness. Because silence is sacred. It's not an absence of noise. It's the presence of awareness. And when you learn to listen to it, you begin to hear the quiet whisper of truth that's been speaking to you all along. The truth that says you are already enough. You do not need to perform for approval. You do not need to chase validation. You only need to return again and again to the still point within yourself where life breathes without effort and love exists without reason. In that silence, you also begin to see the truth about people. You start noticing that not everyone who smiles at you truly sees you. Some people are drawn to your light, not to warm their hearts, but to control its flame. Some will misread your kindness for weakness, your gentleness for naivety. And yet, the beauty of awakening is that you no longer take it personally. You understand that the way others treat you is not a reflection of your worth, but of their own wounds, their own projections, their own inner noise. So you stop trying to fix what isn't yours. You stop explaining your peace to those who thrive in chaos. You stop dimming your truth just to make others comfortable in their illusions. There is a quiet dignity in walking away without bitterness. It is the art of knowing when to love from afar, when to bless someone silently and release them gently into the path of their own becoming. It takes courage to walk away, not because you stopped caring, but because you've learned that love without boundaries destroys the soul. You've learned that self-sacrifice is not the same as compassion. Compassion is offering your presence without losing your peace. Compassion is understanding without absorbing the pain. Compassion is loving someone enough to let them face the mirror of their own choices. When you reach that understanding, you begin to honor yourself differently. You realize that protecting your energy is not selfish. It's sacred stewardship, because the energy you carry shapes the world you touch. If your spirit is drained, your light dims. If your boundaries are broken, your truth becomes diluted. So, you learn to say no, not as rejection, but as redirection. You learn to step back, not in fear, but in faith that what's meant for you will always find its way without force. There's something profoundly powerful that happens when you start living with that kind of inner clarity. Life becomes less about seeking and more about allowing. Less about doing, more about being. You stop chasing purpose as if it's a destination and begin embodying it in every breath. Every action becomes intentional. Every word carries weight. Every silence holds meaning. You realize that peace was never something to achieve. It was the natural state that remained once you stopped resisting the flow of life. And in that flow, everything begins to align effortlessly. Opportunities appear not because you forced them, but because your energy became magnetic. People enter your life not because you begged for their attention, but because your frequency called forth those who resonate with your truth. But this alignment doesn't come without solitude. There will be moments when you feel misunderstood, even by those you love deeply. Times when your silence will be mistaken for arrogance, your detachment for indifference. Do not rush to explain yourself. Let the misunderstanding be the filter that reveals who truly sees you. The ones meant for your journey will recognize your silence not as distance, but as depth. They will meet you there, not with demands, but with presence, not with noise, but with understanding. These are your people. They will not compete with your peace. They will harmonize with it. And as you walk further into that space of inner maturity, you'll notice that forgiveness takes on a new meaning. It's no longer about excusing what someone did, but about freeing yourself from the energy of what they left behind. Forgiveness becomes less about the other person and more about your own liberation. It's saying, I release this pain, not because it was justified, but because I refuse to carry what was never meant to define me. That is the moment your soul expands. That is the moment healing truly begins. Healing is not loud. It doesn't always look like tears or revelations. Sometimes it looks like simple consistency, choosing not to go back to what broke you. Sometimes it looks like sleeping peacefully at night after years of restlessness. Sometimes it's just the quiet, knowing that you no longer need closure from someone who was never open in the first place. You begin to trust the process, even when it's unclear. You begin to thank the pain, not for what it took, but for what it taught. And most importantly, you begin to trust yourself again. The intuition you once doubted, the wisdom you once silenced, the light you once hid. Because life is not asking you to be perfect, it's asking you to be present. To meet yourself as you are, raw, unfinished, yet profoundly whole. It's asking you to release the illusion of control and surrender to the rhythm of becoming. Every ending you resist is simply a beginning in disguise. Every loss, a sacred rearrangement for something greater. Every delay, a divine pause, preparing you for alignment. When you live with that awareness, even pain becomes purposeful. Even confusion carries grace. And so, as you move forward, remember, peace isn't something you find at the end of the path. It is the path. It's the way you walk, the way you breathe, the way you respond to the world. True strength is not in how loudly you fight, but in how deeply you trust. True wisdom is not in how much you know, but in how gently you understand. Let life unfold as it will. Don't rush the lesson, don't fight the silence. For even in the stillness, something within you is growing, quietly, beautifully, unshakably. There comes a sacred moment in every soul's journey when you begin to sense that life is not something happening to you, but something unfolding through you. The walls between what you call you and what you call the world begin to soften. You start to realize that everything is connected. The laughter of a stranger, the wind brushing across your skin, the pain that once shattered you, and the peace that now surrounds you, all of it belongs to one continuous dance of energy. And in that realization, your perception begins to shift. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start wondering, what is this trying to awaken within me? You begin to see that life doesn't send you what you want, it sends you what you need to remember who you truly are. When the heart finally awakens to this truth, you notice that even the moments that once broke you were not punishments. They were invitations. Invitations to shed another layer of illusion, to meet yourself at a deeper level, to rise in awareness. Every pain becomes a teacher, every silence a sanctuary, every ending a hidden beginning. You stop resisting the flow of life, and instead, you begin to trust it. You begin to understand that what feels like loss is often liberation, and what feels like delay is divine timing in disguise. And in that trust, there is peace. Not the peace that comes from perfect circumstances, but the peace that arises from knowing that no matter what unfolds, your soul is safe. In that place of deep trust, fear begins to lose its grip. You no longer need to control everything because you understand that life has always been guiding you, even when you couldn't see it. The missed opportunities, the people who walked away, the doors that closed, they were all part of a greater orchestration. It's not that you were being denied, you were being directed. Directed toward what your spirit needed to grow. Directed away from what could have kept you small. And once you see that pattern, you stop clinging to outcomes. You stop measuring your worth by what stays or leaves. You simply breathe and allow. You let life unfold without force, and in that surrender, you discover a strength that no struggle could have ever given you. But surrender does not mean apathy. It does not mean giving up on life. It means giving yourself fully to it. It means walking with open hands, knowing that what is truly meant for you cannot pass you by, and what passes you by was never truly meant for you. It's the art of living without resistance. When you stop trying to make everything fit into your plan, you begin to see the beauty of the divine plan that was already unfolding all along. You realize that the universe does not make mistakes. It never misplaces a soul, never wastes a lesson, never withholds what is yours. It simply waits for you to be ready, ready to receive, ready to release, ready to remember that your power lies not in control, but in connection, not in having all the answers, but in trusting the questions. And as that awareness deepens, something even more profound begins to happen. You start to see beauty in the ordinary. You begin to see miracles not as rare events, but as constant realities. The morning sunlight on your face feels different. The sound of rain becomes a sacred hymn. The silence between your breaths feels alive. Gratitude no longer becomes a practice. It becomes your natural state of being. You realize that abundance was never about accumulation. It was about appreciation. You begin to see that the richest moments in life are not the ones that dazzle, but the ones that ground you. The ones that remind you that being alive, fully alive, is itself the greatest gift. This kind of awareness changes how you move through the world. You no longer rush. You no longer compare your journey to others. You begin to live slower but deeper. You speak less but say more. You give without the need for recognition, love without fear of loss, and forgive without needing an apology. Because you've learned that holding on to pain only keeps you anchored to a past that no longer exists. Forgiveness becomes freedom. Compassion becomes strength. And peace becomes your natural rhythm. You begin to realize that you don't need to find heaven. You can carry it within you wherever you go. In that sacred state of awareness, even solitude transforms. You no longer fear being alone because you've learned to enjoy your own presence. You realize that loneliness and solitude are not the same. Loneliness is the absence of others. Solitude is the presence of yourself. And when you are truly present with yourself, you realize that you were never alone. The universe was always whispering through the quiet, always holding you through the silence, always guiding you through the unseen. You begin to find comfort in the spaces between noise. You begin to see that you don't need constant connection to feel complete. You only need conscious connection to feel alive. And when you live from that awareness, love takes on a higher meaning. It's no longer about possession, attachment, or expectation. It becomes a reflection of freedom, the kind of love that doesn't cling, but uplifts, that doesn't demand, but understands, that doesn't bind, but liberates. You begin to love people not for who you want them to be, but for who they are, even when they're still becoming. You love with open hands, with no fear of loss, because you understand that love is not something you own. It's something you are. You realize that when you stop chasing love, you start radiating it. And what you radiate, you attract effortlessly, naturally, divinely. There comes a beautiful humility in this way of living. You stop pretending to be in control and start participating in the miracle of being. You laugh more easily, forgive more quickly, and worry less often. You see that everything you once resisted was guiding you back home, home to the awareness that you were never separate from life, never apart from the divine, never lacking anything essential. You were simply asleep to your own light. And once you wake up to that truth, you cannot unsee it. You begin to walk differently. There's a quiet confidence in your step, a softness in your gaze, a stillness in your spirit. You carry peace not because your life is perfect, but because you no longer need it to be. You carry love not because everyone deserves it, but because you've learned that love is the most powerful force in existence, and you refuse to live without it. You carry light, not because darkness has disappeared, but because you've realized that even darkness serves its purpose. It shows you where the light is needed most. And so, you continue walking, not towards something, but with something. With wisdom, with grace, with presence. You understand that the purpose of this life was never to escape it, but to embrace it fully, to feel everything deeply, to learn, to love, to evolve, to return again and again to the still center of your being, where peace is not a visitor, but a home. There, in that sacred stillness, you realize you are not the waves of life's changing tides. You are the ocean itself, vast, steady, eternal. The storms may rise, the winds may roar, but your depth remains untouched. And once you know this, truly know this, you are free. In the end, love reveals itself not as a destination, but as a remembrance, a quiet awakening to what has always been within you. You discover that the people who cross your path are not accidents, but mirrors reflecting the lessons your soul is ready to learn. Some come to awaken your strength, others to soften your heart, and a few, a rare few, arrive to walk beside you in alignment, not out of need, but out of mutual recognition. The truth is, you cannot lose what is meant for you, and what you lose was never truly yours. Life has its own intelligence, a rhythm far wiser than our plans, far gentler than our fears. It removes, refines, and realigns everything until only what resonates with your highest self remains. And when you finally stop searching for signs outside yourself, you begin to see that every answer you ever sought has been whispering through your own heartbeat. You begin to trust the quiet voice within, the one that doesn't shout, but knows. So breathe. Let the past rest where it belongs. Open your hands and release the need to control. What is meant for you will never rush, never confuse, never demand that you abandon yourself. It will move with grace, grow with time, and stay with peace. For in the end, the love that is meant for you will not arrive to complete you. It will remind you that you were whole all along.